Hey, hello everybody. Hope you are getting ready and you are ready for your Christmas holiday coming up and the New Year coming up. I personally am in the middle of packing. We're heading out to Mexico City this evening, but I did want to just jump in really quickly and just say hello and wish you all a wonderful end of year. And I did want to talk about a couple things today that I think you should be thinking about as we're going into the new year. So hopefully you catch this at a time that's convenient for you. But looking back from December 2018 to December 2017, if you feel anything like me, this year has just gone by quicker and faster than any other. I hope being in this group has provided you some more value and helped you move forward towards achieving your financial goals and achieving your retirement goals, and that you are better off for being here than you are if you were just at home searching around on Google hoping to find the right answer. So I really hope you've gotten a lot out of being here. For those that are new to the group, my name is Jason J. Hamilton. I am a chartered retirement planning counselor and the admin of this group. Each and every Sunday, we try to come in and bring you some value, answer some questions, and just discuss some of the main important topics that we think you should be thinking about when it comes to planning for retirement, and doing so very confidently, because I think once you have a confident retirement plan in place, then a lot of other things get a whole lot easier, especially sleeping at night, right? So that's what we're here to talk about just in general as a group, but there's so many other fun things that we're doing as well, to try to make this a little bit more of an escape for you, because if you have turned on Google Finance or Yahoo Finance or looked at your accounts, you're probably seeing a lot of red in the most recent weeks. So, we just like to have a little bit of fun. If you haven't yet, post your favorite animal, your funniest animal picture at that post. It should be a couple down from what you're seeing now. I think we had 240 different comments and hundreds of pictures shared of some of the most hilarious animals I've ever seen. So, I thought originally, let's make it a contest to see who has the funniest picture. But, Dick and Shayna, thank you so much for calling it out that everybody's winners. Animals, as long as they have people that care about them, that are taking care of them, that enjoy, giving them a great life, everybody in here is a winner when it comes to that, because there's so many poor animals out there that just have nobody to take care of them, that aren't cared for or are just neglected. So seeing all these wonderful pictures just brought a lot of joy to my heart, and I hope a lot of joy and a little bit of distraction, right, from everything else that's going on in this current wild time in the market. So hopefully you enjoy that. If you haven't yet, post your picture. We love to see who are your little, I call them my child, right, because I don't have kids yet, but I know a lot of us treat our animals just like our children. Or if you're like some folks, including, I have to admit, the house I grew up in, sometimes the animals get treated a little bit better than the kids when it comes to, protecting their space on the couch or getting a little fancy dinner every so often. So for those of you out there that are animal lovers, I appreciate you and thank you so much for bringing joy to these young animals' world, where at the end of the day, if they didn't have us to take care of them, there would be no one else. So everyone's a winner in that game. So what I want to talk about today before we end this year is just a few things, like 5 things I think if you set these goals for yourself in 2019 and going forward, you're going to be in a much better place than you were at the beginning of last year. So if you didn't do these things, I should say. So I want to talk to you about that today. It's just going to be really quick. We're heading out this evening. We're doing a, what are those called? A red-eye flight, overnight flight. We're driving down to Tijuana, and then from Tijuana, we're flying down to Mexico City. And what we found is just by driving from here to there, we're saving like $350 per ticket. So don't be afraid to get creative when it comes to travel. We're going to make the most out of it. We're going to go down a little bit early, have a wonderful dinner down across the border, and then hop on our plane flight tonight, and we'll arrive about 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow to have a full day down in Mexico City, and we'll be there for the week. So if you've ever been there before, I heard the food is good, but if you have any special things, activities, or whatnot you think are good, leave them in the comments for me. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll be definitely looking out for anything you recommend, specific restaurants, activities, places to go, fun things to do. I would love to hear from you guys that are a little more experienced in Mexico City than I am. But today, let me pull up the training. I want to talk to you guys about a few things today that I think you should be thinking about going into next year. And I think if you do, take these things I'm going to share with you very seriously, I think you're going to put yourself in a much better position going into 2019 and beyond, okay? So I just laid these out really quick, and we're just going to have more of a discussion. And if you have questions, go ahead and drop those in. I'm going to pull up my my little phone right now so I can see any questions you have. So if you have any questions about anything I'm laying out, drop them in there. I'll stay on for a few minutes and answer those questions for you if you have them. Haven't seen any comments come up yet, but if you guys have questions about anything you're thinking about for 2019, about what I'm talking about, drop them in the comments, and I will definitely get to them before we wrap up, okay? So today, we're going to talk about 5 important goals for 2019, okay? So the first one, as always, I got to put my disclaimers here. Disclaimers, this is not financial advice. You shouldn't take it as such. Not tax advice. Always partner with your professional advisor before you implement anything, okay? But getting into this a little bit here, we talked about this last week, okay? So last week, I put out a challenge that if you are not consistently tracking your expenses, that I highly recommend you do so. And what I recommended last week is that you not only track your expenses, so get hooked up to something like mint.com, or you need a budget, or there's a bazillion of these things out there. But before you look at what your results are, write down what you think your expenses are. Write down what you think you need to live and cover your lifestyle in retirement, what that number is going to be, and then match up, right? Match up what the computer's saying, match up what your online accounting software is saying, whatever you use, and compare that to what you think you spend each month, and really spend some time doing that. For those people that did do that, what I've been hearing is that there's definitely some differences between what they think they're spending and what they're actually spending. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people that are already on top of this, are already tracking their expenses, but really a first step to make sure that you can put your plan in place to retirement with confidence is to start tracking your expenses and know exactly what it's going to take you to maintain the lifestyle that you currently have. If it looks like you're going to have to reduce your lifestyle expenses to retire comfortably, then at least we can know, okay, where are we overspending? Where can we cut? And on the opposite end of the spectrum, I make just as many people that are so frugal, they put so much money away, and they live off a lot less than they really need. And that's going to actually enable you to figure out how much money can you actually spend above and beyond your income needs to go on vacations, to do the fun things you want to do, and to really live the life that you've been planning for in retirement. But if you don't start by tracking, you're not really going to know anything about where you're at, where you should be, and then where you need to go to make sure that you're in a good place, okay? So that is number one. The second thing I think you should do going into this 2019 is, as Americans in general, we are consumers. We have so much junk laying around our house, filling up our garages, filling up the closets, maybe even have a storage container that you're paying for every month just to hold your junk, right, that you don't need. So number two thing I think you should do is just start getting rid of some clutter, okay? So I want to talk about physical clutter, and I want to talk about financial clutter. So let's talk about those two things separately. So if you have physical clutter, okay, if your garage is packed up to the ceiling with stuff you haven't seen in a year, 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, it's time to start getting rid of some of that stuff. Learn how to do things like sell stuff on eBay, put stuff on Facebook to sell, do these other websites like OfferUp, Amazon. There's a lot of ways to get rid of this stuff that you don't even have to really leave your house. You don't have to have a garage sale necessarily. But on the other side, I think garage sales might be a great idea to think about maybe in the spring for some of you guys, because I know some of you guys are in the north and in the east, and it gets way too cold during these times to actually do a garage sale. But let's get a plan in place, and let's really start looking through all the junk that you've been storing away and packing up that is not going to bring you any joy in retirement. I think a really good exercise, and I can't remember the name of the book, but I read this in a book somewhere. A really good exercise is to take just one little portion of your house at a time. And let's say, for example, you're going to take that cluttered closet that's just full of a bunch of junk that you haven't looked at in years. And you just start with that one closet, okay? Don't try to do everything in the house at one time. You start with one area, so let's pick one closet. Let's pull everything out of that closet. Let's get it all in the center of the floor, in the center of your living room, whatever it may be. Let's just get it all there and start going through each and every item. And as you're looking at these items, ask yourself, does this bring me joy? Right? Does this particular item bring me joy and pleasure, and does it bring me something in my life that is adding to my overall happiness and well-being? If it is, great. Keep it. Put that off to a one pile and keep that in on one side. And let's put that there so that you know you're going to keep that, and because it brings you joy and it brings you happiness, okay? If it doesn't, if you can't honestly say, this brings me joy and happiness and I really need this in my life, just put that in another pile. And that's our disposal pile. That's a pile that we're going to get rid of things and get rid of them somehow, whether we donate them, whether we sell them, or whether we give them away to somebody who needs them more than we do. And so start going through and take everything out of your closet one by one. Does this bring me joy? If yes, one pile. If it doesn't, another pile, and then we'll talk about later what we're going to do to get rid of those things, okay? But let's start doing some cleaning, right? Because if it's cold and it's snowy out, what else are you going to do? Sit around and watch TV? Let's spend some time, once we get through Christmas and the New Year and everything like that, to get into 2019 and start removing that clutter from everywhere, because a lot of folks do want to downsize, or maybe you want to move, and getting this stuff done early before you actually retire is going to make that transition a whole lot easier. I know I've seen people's garages that if you walk in there and it's just so overwhelming that they wouldn't even know where to get started, right? And when you feel that overwhelmed, it's hard to move forward, and then it just keeps you stuck, right, in that one place. So let's start getting rid of some of that physical clutter, some of the stuff we don't need that doesn't bring us joy, and let's just get it out of there and create some space so that we can breathe and make life a little bit easier in retirement. Okay, so that's a physical clutter. On the other side, let's talk a little bit about financial clutter, okay? A lot of you folks have maybe a shoebox full of receipts, or things that you need to get organized. Or you have that file cabinet that you've never used the folders. The folders are on the bottom, and you've just piled everything up on top and closed the drawer, right? So let's take some time and get clear and get some stuff in order and get really organized as we're going into this year and get all of our financial documents in place, because that's going to be super, super important to making sure that you're in a good place when it comes to retiring. And not only that, I would actually recommend, if you take my first tip, right, and actually start tracking all your expenses, you go through your expense and let's see if there's any expenses that are really clutter. How many subscriptions do you have that you don't really use? How many things are just getting charged on autopilot that you're not really even noticing or getting any benefit out of? Don't get me wrong. If you have a gym membership that you're paying for, I would love for you to go and do some exercise and stay healthy. I think that's really important. But maybe there's other subscriptions, like subscriptions to magazines you don't read anymore, subscriptions to clubs you don't join, subscriptions to online, activities or services that you thought you were going to use but you never really use. Let's get some of that clutter out of there, because if you can reduce your monthly expenses by a few $100s a month, that adds up to thousands of dollars per year that are a reduction in your necessary expenses for what you need to cover for your transition into retirement. And it's also money that's going to waste that could either be going to your savings and investments now or to your vacation fund for when you do make the transition over. So let's get rid of some of that financial clutter stuff too, and just start really get a clean, fresh start in this new year. I think that's going to bring you a lot of peace, some breathing room, and a lot of joy when it comes to making that transition into retirement. Let's see if there's any questions on that. Oh, look at Lynn says, getting rid of clutter as we speak. I love it, Lynn. So I think we're speaking the same language right now. I'm really feeling this. This is a good way to start the year. Brian says, added benefit to getting rid of the physical clutter is that we keep the wife happy, okay? As a new husband, a year and a half in, just a little bit over a year and a half of being married, happy wife is a happy life. And that goes for happy husbands too, okay? We want to keep and really do the things that enrich our spouse's life and try to find nice things to do for them. And if clutter is going to keep your significant other happy, then let's get rid of it. It's a small thing to do for the overwhelming feeling of joy. And Dan makes a good point, except when you get rid of her stuff, okay? So Dan, let's be really honest. We want to make sure that we're doing this together. You don't want to just get rid of people's stuff without checking in with them. That's not going to be a good result. But if you have a spouse, right, and sitting down and do this activity I recommended for you of getting everything in the middle of the floor and asking, does it bring you joy, or is it something you don't really need and getting rid of it, doing that together I think is going to be really important, okay? But let's be honest, a lot of men have plenty of junk piled up too that our wives would love to throw away, and all these old, high school, college things that we, want to keep in our memories but aren't really bringing us joy at this point. So, but very, very good points there, okay? So let's get rid of the clutter physically and financially, okay? That's number 2. Let's move on here to number 3. Number 3 I want to talk to you about is getting realistic, right? Getting realistic about retirement. What I mean by that is stopping the hoping and wishing that it's all going to work out, okay? There's so many things you could be doing to getting the real answers to your personal situation. And this group is one of them, okay? This group is definitely one of them. But you got to get really, really realistic about if you're doing the right things to be ready or not. If you're sitting there just hoping and praying it all works out, you're hoping and praying that it just figures it out somehow, or someone just magically comes into your life and gives you all the answers, that's not going to happen, okay? It's really just not going to happen. You can sit there hoping to sit there and duct tape together some sort of retirement, but what I know is if you put all the pieces in place, because each piece that you need to do to cross the road into retirement is planned for, properly designed, and set in place with intention, you are going to have a much better experience to crossing that finish line and crossing and leaving from work into the retirement you always dreamed of. There's plenty of people that just either lose their jobs or just pull the plug on at work and then just hope to figure it all out. So they're searching every day on Google, they're up late at night thinking about it, they're stressed out with conversations with their spouse because they never took the time to get very realistic when it comes to getting all the right pieces in place of the puzzle to make sure your retirement is in good shape and knowing that you're very, very realistic about if you're in a good shape or not, okay? So this year, I want you to get very realistic and start talking about actual numbers with your actual situation. And I know this current market is not helping you out. I know it might be stressing some of you guys out, but if you have some time, it is a good opportunity to potentially buy at a discount. And we may still see some more volatility before this is all over. So you have to be ready for that. But if you are 1 year or less from retirement, you should have some money that is set aside for you to be very stable so that these next 2 or 3 years, whatever happens in the market, should not be stressing you out too much, okay? I really like to see folks have 2 to 3 years of some sort of their assets that are very stable, and then also some other buckets that are lined up for different periods so that they are achieving their goals to outpace inflation and things like that long term. But if you have all your money in the market right now and you don't have any money that's stable, and you just sat there hoping you could squeeze a little bit more juice out of it, this is what happens, right? This is what happens when you try to really just hope things that are not in your control at the end of the day. The market is not in any of our control, but it is a great place to be long term. But if you put too much in hopes and prayers and not enough into being realistic, you're probably feeling a little stressed out right now, okay? So 2019, I want that to be the year that you get very realistic with everything you're doing when it comes to your plan into crossing the border into retirement, okay? All right. Number four, what I want to talk about is optimizing what you have, okay? If you're 63, 64, and you're planning on retiring in the next year or two, that's not a lot of time, right? It's not a lot of time to hope that the market gives you some insane amount of returns, or that somehow you put all your money into something silly like cryptocurrency and hope that it just doubles or triples or 10x's itself, and so that you now have enough money for retirement. Not a smart plan, okay? If you're getting close and you're a year or two away, you really want to start optimizing everything so that, yes, you're capturing the gains, but you're also setting yourself up so any sort of downturn doesn't completely destroy your plans for going into retirement. This step number 4 also applies to step number 1 and 2, but it's about really optimizing what you have, tracking all your expenses to make sure that you're not wasting any money, because all these extra hundreds of dollars that you possibly could be throwing away these next few years, or even thousands of dollars on things you're not using, are not helping you optimize. So let's clean that up. Let's get that out of there, and let's get really lean and mean when it comes to going into 2019 and getting our expenses in the right place, getting our contributions, and really maxing out our tax advantage accounts, because once you retire, no more money can go into IRAs, 401ks, and things like that. You have to have earned income to contribute there. So let's clear out all the clutter. Let's optimize what we have. Let's max out our tax advantage accounts this year. And keep in mind, for your IRAs, Roth and traditional, you do have until April 15th of 2019 to contribute for 2018. Okay, so if you haven't quite maxed out your full amount yet, if you're over 50, which is $6,500 per person per member of the household, so husband and wife can each put $6,500. Make sure you're taking advantage of that. If you're over 50, you have an extra $6,000 that you can put into your 401k. Right now might be the time. Let's get your bonus in there. Let's get everything in there, and let's put that extra money into that 401k so that you are not paying taxes at what is most likely your highest tax bracket ever, so that when we transition over into retirement, we can take the money out at a much lower tax bracket, okay? Even myself and my wife are doing the same thing. For her job, what I asked her to do is see if she can get her bonus this year before December 31st, because if she gets it before December 31st, that's going to help us out this year, because we are expecting to earn a little bit more money this next year than we are this year. So if you expect to be going up in a tax bracket next year, let's see if we can accelerate anything that we're doing and get paid out this year, so it's on this year's pay at a lower tax bracket versus next year when you may be a little bit higher, okay? So optimizing every single thing. Your income, expenses, the things you're spending money on, the places you're putting your money. Let's get to optimize all the different aspects of our finances and getting everything completely where we want it to go to give us the best result going into the next year, okay? And number 5 is get a real plan in place, okay? A plan that's going to help you answer all the questions you need to know about what if you need health care before Medicare kicks in, or even what Medicare plan should you be going on, what supplements you should be getting, what should you be looking at if you're going to be traveling in an RV, for example, because an ACA plan might not give you the state-to-state coverage that you need, so you may need to look into some sort of supplement to cover if you're going to be traveling around the country, okay? These are all things you want to answer before you jump in and make the leap and get help with that. When should you be taking Social Security, right? Timing that, because that's easily a 6-figure decision when it comes to additional retirement income, and also setting up the highest income floor that you can. So instead of putting too much money into an annuity, it might be better to wait and delay Social Security, because that might provide the extra income you need. So really getting those things, those decisions right. If you're going to be delaying Social Security and you have a gap between when you leave work and when you're taking your pension and Social Security, well, you might have some low income years. Are Roth conversions, are those things going to be good for you? If you've never heard of Roth conversion, what that is you take money from your pre-tax accounts, you move it to a Roth account, you pay some taxes today, but then you never pay tax on that money ever again, and it gets to grow forever tax-free. It is not included as part of your required minimum distributions at 70.5, and it keeps your money off the government's hands long term. So really looking into are Roth conversions right for you? That's going to be a really important thing to consider. You do still have about a week, just a little bit over a week left. If you can move some money from pre-tax to post-tax, you can do that still for 2018. So if your income and your tax brackets are lower this year than you expect them to be in the future, then definitely considering getting some money from pre-tax to post-tax in a Roth account or something like that might be a really, really smart move for you to consider for the future. Double checking if it's still open enrollment, at your work, or maybe open enrollment's coming up early in the year. For many workplaces, it's in March, okay? So making sure, should you take advantage of the company disability plan? Is there a really, really cheap life insurance plan that you can get through work because it's with a group that can give you some extra coverage for a lower cost than it would be to buy it on your own? Looking at your health care plan and making sure that you're not overpaying or you're not undercovered. Things like life insurance or an umbrella insurance policy. If your net worth is starting to get to $500,000, $1 million or more, an umbrella policy might be really something you want to consider this year. So really optimizing and getting a real plan in place for your estate planning, your tax planning, your investment planning, your insurance planning, and your cash flow planning, and all these different things that need to be taken care of so that you're optimizing all of your current resources to get yourself set up for a really confident, really good retirement, okay? So if you're ready to get a real plan in place, definitely that's something we can help you out with. We're going to have some things coming, I think, this year. I think the group program's looking pretty good. We have a lot of interest in that. So for folks that really want to get things together and have a little bit of time, I think that's going to be really good for you. If you want some one-on-one discussion, if you want someone to help you, walk you through step-by-step, and you want me to help you out, then that's definitely something we can talk about this next year as well. So that's what I have for you guys today. Hopefully this helps you out. Hopefully it gets you thinking and putting some things in place so 2019 is your best year ever, and that it just gets better and better every year going forward, and you can sleep at night, reduce stress, and you're just getting everything where it should be. I think that's such a good feeling, and that's why I love being a financial planner, because I know what it brings, and I know that peace and relaxation feeling and that tension in your shoulders just gets released when everything is where it's supposed to be, and you know exactly what to do step by step between now and when it's time to cross that finish line into retirement, okay? So if you want to discuss your retirement strategy in 2019, I always put this up here because what I've been told is, I didn't know you even help people out with this. I thought you just did these trainings. So I'm going to put this up and let you know if you want to discuss it, you want some help this year. I don't have anything available until next year, obviously, but get some time on my calendar. let's spend 45 minutes or an hour discussing all the different aspects of your retirement strategy and what are the things that you should be doing or thinking about when it comes to making that transition from being where you're at now to a 100% confident retirement plan, because that's what we do, okay? That's at keepitsimplefinancial.com/talk. And that's pretty much what I have for you today. I'm going to check in here if there's any questions. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them down below. I'll also put the link in the comments for that. And after today, I probably won't see you guys until next year, okay? So it'll be until 2019 until we do our next check-in, most likely, unless I can get some time down in Mexico. I don't know if there's going to be enough internet or signal to be able to do anything like this. But that's what I have for you guys today. What questions do you have about anything about what we talked about today? If you have any, go ahead and drop them down below, and I'll be happy to stay on for a couple minutes and answer them for you. Ken says gym membership is out the door. He doesn't use it. Okay, again, if you don't use it, get rid of it, right? If you don't use it, get rid of it. But if you're going to use it, if you're going to go in there, they have a lot of great classes sometimes for seniors. It's wonderful to do that and get in, be active. But if you're not going to use it, it's just an expense. Don't waste your money on that. And that's honestly how a lot of these gyms stay alive. You know, they do spend January getting a ton of people signed up that they know are going to come for 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 3 months or whatever, and then just let that membership just keep ticking and keep rolling in every single month. And there's just no way when you go to the gym and they say they have 6,000 or 10,000 members, but it's the same 100 to 200 people in there almost every day that most of the people are actually going. So if you are not, don't waste the expense and just get it off your payroll so that you're not wasting that money down the drain. I don't see any questions, guys, so we're going to wrap up for today. Once again, have a wonderful holiday season, a great new year, and we'll be seeing you very soon. I appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time with your families, and be safe. Don't eat too much, okay? Eat well, but don't eat too much because you know you're going to regret it next year. And get very, very focused on what you're going to do for 2019 to make sure you're taking the steps you need to do to get your retirement planning in place, okay? Appreciate you guys. Have a good one, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye-bye now.